Well, the women who do it usually, and I think it's probably less now, but there's a big history of childhood sexual abuse. And the reason why child abuse often then becomes monetized sex work is because when we are violated as a child, men or women, when something is violated from us, the only way your ego kind of makes sense of what happens to you is to minimize the importance and significance of what was stolen from you. So if I was abused sexually, if I then minimize the importance of sex and then take some control by monetizing it and saying, I'm now in control of my body, I'm either going to be hyper promiscuous or I'm going to monetize it, what it does is minimizes the significance of sex, and therefore I don't have to deal with the trauma I experienced. I now see sex as just an activity, and therefore if I was abused, it's not that serious. And so the psychology of them is usually coming from a broken place. And also the other thing that they struggle with is knowing what loyalty looks like in a relationship. They don't see it as an essential component because they've monetized sex and taken away the emotion element to it. So it becomes very difficult for them to be sexually loyal to their partner. It's almost like they see sex as a bit as an activity, and if they do it with somebody else, why would that bother you? They don't understand the process. So they end up being quite emotionally disconnected, very transactional with their partners, and the relationships become the relationships don't really last very long, unfortunately. They're a void of emotions, and then it translates into their parenting as well.
What about the psychology of the men who pay for it?
The psychology of the man that actually goes towards it is usually he's somebody who's highly avoidant to begin with. There was some emotional disconnect in their parents, in their household. So when you want to court a beautiful woman in the real world, she requires some emotional connection first and foremost, or at least at some point. Now, if you find it hard to experience emotional connection and you have the money to go from pornography to escorts, you skip the emotional component and go straight to escorts. Escorts are porn addicts with money. The reason why emotional kind of disconnect is so important for the customer is a man that understands emotional intelligence and understands a woman's emotions wouldn't feel comfortable having sex with a woman he knows doesn't want to be there. A guy that normally has emotional intelligence will think, oh God, she's probably not enjoying this. And oh God, what trauma led her to get here? I don't want to have sex with somebody who doesn't want to have sex with me. But the man who skipped that emotional intelligence and just wants pleasure will not even think about the emotional trauma that got her to this position and just think, as long as she pleases me, I don't really care what it took to get her here.